So NBA free agency begins in earnest at 6 Eastern and 3 Pacific, and we've got several suitors for several players out there, and Alex is going to ask me where I want them. Where do I think is the best fit for them?
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Where do you want to see Chris Paul play next season?
I think the Phoenix Suns make the most sense. First of all, he was their best shooter in the finals. He had the best mid-range performance of any NBA player. Also, as Devin Booker's game grows, Chris Paul is an ally for him. He takes away some of the ball handling, lets Booker work without the ball. And I still think this is primarily a young team. And I do think today, because of their health, they're really a healthy unit. I do think they should be favored to win the West next year, although we'll see now how the Westbrook, LeBron, AD fit works. But Phoenix feels right, his leadership, his mentorship, and let's not sell the farm on him despite the finals. He was the NBA's best mid-range shooter last year at 52% from the floor.
Now they have finals experience. Where do you want to see Kyle Lowry play next season?
A little overrated as a player, but I do think Miami is the perfect spot. First of all, he and Jimmy Butler are tight, and Jimmy does not deal with young players as well as veterans. So Jimmy Butler has said Kyle Lowry's one of my best friends. Also, Tyler Hero struggled to replicate his rookie year, and Butler, it didn't sit well with him. Also, the Heat have cap space to sign Lowry, and he's an Eastern Conference player. He knows the system. He knows the conference. I think he adds maturity to a young roster that sometimes last year lacked it.
Where do you want to see Bradley Beal play next year?
I've always felt he works perfectly with the Lakers. First of all, they were atrocious from three-point land in the playoffs. They really don't have shooter. LeBron's not an elite shooter. Westbrook's not. This team needs shooting. I've said this before. You think I'm crazy. AD is somebody I would consider moving. I don't know if he's committed. He's got an injury history. Bradley Beal does not get hurt. He is exactly what the Lakers need. A smart veteran shooting guard, plays both ends, and rarely gets hurt. I think he fits perfectly with the Lakers.
Where do you want to see Lonzo Ball play next season?
Well, what team in the NBA has struggled to find a point but is really good in the wings? The Clippers. They can't figure out the point guard. He'd come back to Los Angeles. They've had Rondo. They've had Lou Williams. They've had Patrick Beverley. They haven't really had an offensive-minded guy that's young and works. Lonzo last year had his best season. His three-point numbers went up dramatically. His shooting efficiency overall went up dramatically. I think he misses LA. I think he fits their roster. He's a long, athletic guard, coachable, committed to basketball, who's improved his shooting. I like him with the Clips.
I like it. Where do you want to see Damian Lillard play next season?
There's a lot of arguments to be made Philadelphia. I think Dallas works because I think the issue with the Mavericks is that Luka is held responsible for carrying the ball too much. You've got to give Luka opportunities to play off the ball and play fewer minutes. So if Luka comes off the floor, in the playoffs, when Luka came off the floor, they had no offense. You can give Luka 6 minutes off a half, and with Dame and Porzingis and Hardaway, your offense doesn't tank. Is that it's not just about getting somebody that can score. It's getting a guard to give Luka an occasional break so he can play off the ball. Because when you watched Dallas last year, when Luka sat, they had no offense. You've got to go find an elite scorer to play with him. Now, Dame's going to have to realize you're not always going to get the last shot. This will be Luka's team as much as Dame. But I think it would be an exhilarating, fascinating team to watch.
Where do you want to see Ben Simmons play next season?
I think the Golden State Warriors work. What doesn't he do? Shoot. What do they have? Shooters. What does he do? Defend. It's not Steph Curry's strength, and Draymond's no longer an elite defender. They just drafted 2 kids, 18 and 19. They'll get overwhelmed defensively in the league. Simmons gives you length. He's a point or a center guard. He's like a point forward or a point center. He gives you length. He's a great defender. He's a great distributor. Little injury history, but by and large, the team's culture is already set. You don't need him to be the culture creator. I think that's been Kawhi's problem in the Clippers. He's a great addition to a good culture. You're not going to create a culture around Kawhi. Same with Ben Simmons. The culture is set with Draymond, Steph, and Clay. Length, defense, distribution, I think he'd be great. And they have the pieces.
Well, let's stay on that. Where do you see Kawhi Leonard ending up next season?
I am rooting for Kawhi Leonard to just play. Next year, the Clippers are reportedly going to pay him $36 million. Now, he's not physically going to be ready to play until the All-Star game minimum. But there's no value in Kawhi necessarily risking playing after that, because at the end of the season, the Clippers will still pay him for a massive contract, because there's a sense in this, with the Lakers in town, that they have to do something big. So that the Clippers are bizarrely desperate here. And I am rooting for Kawhi to play next year, but Chris Broussard mentioned it earlier. Why would you? Remember, the last time he had a serious injury in San Antonio, he refused to play, and they moved him. Okay, this is a serious injury for a guy that misses 15 to 20 a year. Why would you play in the second half of the season? Why would you do that? If you look at his psychology, we know one thing about Kawhi. One thing and one thing only. He's going to do what Kawhi wants to do.
Yep.
He doesn't even have an agent. It's a family member. So I'm rooting to see him play. I don't think he will. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.